Michael Barasch, and retired New York City Fire Department Deputy Chief, gracious enough to come here today to talk about the 9/11 healthcare program.
We're going to show a short little video to set the table, and then we'll show a few slides.
The first responders who came back to a war-torn neighborhood that was clearly toxic, I'm in awe. It's your courage and your resilience that brought this place back. So please, I urge you, access what you are owed.
Over the last decade, we have all fought very hard so that everyone has access to the health care that they need. It is very important that every community member, anywhere south of Houston, understands that you are covered. You are part of the group of people that have guaranteed health care if you have a 9/11 related disease.
So we have taken on, with all of these advocates here, the task of trying to get everyone to understand that they have rights, and it is imperative that they sign up.
One of the really surprising things about our research is that an event in 2001 can continue to have echoes decades later, such that it is as though never smokers are smoking 2 packs a day.
People don't realize that they are eligible, and for many people, it's not a question of if they're going to get sick, it's a question of when.
How do I prove my illness was caused by the 9/11 toxins? You don't have to prove that, it's presumptive. You only have to prove that you lived or you worked in the downtown area.
Many of us returned before the fires were out, without proper equipment, without proper advice from professionals, and now a slew of health conditions, respiratory issues, and many cancers.
We have about 100,000 responders in the 9/11 community. Basically, to be entitled to compensation, you need to prove that you were below Canal Street or on the Fresh Kills landfill, either caught in the dust cloud on 9/11, or for 24 hours during the month of September 2001, or for 80 hours between 9/11 and May 30th of 2002. Let's get into the health program. Richie Alley, he'll talk a little bit about the benefits of the health program, and I'll talk about the victim fund.
In 2007, I was elected to my labor union, the Union Fire Officers Association, was made the legislative and political director. And that was a year after NYPD detective Jimmy Zadroga died of pulmonary fibrosis. Jimmy was Michael's client. So Michael convinced the family to do an autopsy because we were still battling with the city of New York, the federal government, about what was in the air. And it was a difficult decision for them because they know what killed him, but for the greater good, they agreed. When they opened up Jimmy's lungs, they found everything that we were claiming was in the air. Ground glass, heavy metal, benzene, chromium, asbestos. It was a toxic brew. And that was the forensic evidence that we used in the battle in Washington. For me, when we were lobbying, the health program was near and dear to my heart because the medical experts had been telling us in the fire department that we could expect our members to come down with various cancers in 10 or 20 years' time. And what happened was they quickly were coming down with illnesses 2 and 3 years later. These, cancers upon diagnosis at stage 2, 3, and 4, which not that it doesn't happen in the general population, it does, but not like it happens in the 9/11 community. We call these things cancer on steroids. So that's the most important aspect for me. So, why enroll in the health program? Vitally important. Number one, the annual medical exam, where they focus on 9/11 related illnesses, which are everything in the respiratory family, and cancer. They do a lot of cancer screening, which is critically important. Second reason, very important also, is the prescription coverage. So never ever use your FBI Union welfare prescription plan or your Medicare Part D prescription plan to fill 9/11 related medications. The third one, and really another critically important part, is that it's a requirement of the law. Because if you ever want to move on to file a claim with the Victim Compensation Fund, which is what Michael's going to talk about, your condition needs to be certified by the health program. And that doesn't mean that you can't be diagnosed with a condition by an outside physician. It happens all the time. At some point, you have to have that medical documentation shared with the health program so that they can certify it. That's a requirement of the Victim Compensation Fund. And the fourth reason, it's a national program. So it's in all 50 states. What the federal government does, it uses a middleman, an insurance company. It used to be Logistics Health Insurance. Now it's Sedgwick, Managed Care Advisors, MCA Sedgwick. Okay? There's been some growing pains. It's not a perfect scenario, but LHI was doing a terrible job. MCA, we're hoping does a job. So the reason why I handed this out, this organization was formed by New York State AFL-CIO right after passage of the law in 2010 to help first responders. If you're having any difficulties with MCA, that insurance provider, contact them. You get the phone number, the email address, and they will intervene and help you and save you a lot of aggravation. We hear a lot of reports, people getting bills or they can't get an appointment. So call them up and they'll certainly be able to take care of business. You might want to use like my plan, because I know you all have a private health insurance or Medicare, is that I go to my primary care physician and I schedule my annual World Trade Center medical for 6 months later. If something is going on, I'm going to find out sooner rather than later. And the people that run into a problem are people that are not on top of things. They stick their head in the sand, they don't want to know, they feel okay. I understand the feeling, but don't make that mistake. So the conditions, these conditions are all presumptive under the law. You don't have to prove that your illness was a result of your exposure to the toxins. We only have to prove that you were there. And for everyone here being in the New York office, that's an easy operation. So asthma and COPD, sinus issues are quite common, pulmonary fibrosis, emphysema, these are all common. Gastrointestinal illnesses like GERD, Barrett's esophagus, and then cancer. Oddly enough, skin cancer is the most common cancer, because it turns out that the pH of the toxins was the equivalent of Drano. So those fine particles get on your body and create havoc. Basal cell and squamous cell, which are non-melanoma skin cancers, are covered, and melanoma skin cancer. I'm a skin cancer survivor, Michael's a skin cancer survivor, and a host of other people. The health program doesn't screen for it. And you have insurance. If you've never had a full body skin exam, I urge you to make an appointment with a dermatologist and get a top to bottom checkup.
I went for my annual physical a month ago. Doctor says, I don't like what I see under the nail. Now, Richie and I do this outreach all the time. And I listened to him, and I said to the doctor, can you check everything out? He takes a little sample. It turned out to be squamous cell cancer. No big deal. They removed half my nail. They dug and dug and dug until I was cancer-free. But guess what? I'm cancer-free now because I went for the exam.
Don't be like the first responder that I spoke to about a little over a year ago, maybe 13, 14 months ago, calls me up. And my conversations with people with prostate cancer usually kind of go along the same lines. But anyway, he calls me up. They got stage 4 prostate cancer that's out of his prostate into the surrounding tissue. I asked him what was the PSA number that they topped off at, and he said 20, which is an extremely high number. So I said, well, were you going for checkups normally, prostate, your prostate produces PSA, it's normal for it to go up, that's what it does. But when there's a blip, and the doctor will send you for an MRI and to a biopsy, and then they'll detect if it's cancer, and that's why the blip. Now you got early detection, early treatment. So in his case, when I asked him the same thing, what was happening with you? That's a big blip, And he says, I don't know. I haven't had a PSA test in 10 years. This is not a happy ending because he's no longer with us. His wife is now our client.
The moral of the story, go for your annual full body skin checkup, and to the men, go for your annual PSA exam. I have prostate cancer, but fortunately, because I'm in this world, I go regularly. My PSA jumped. I'm at the aggressive monitoring stage. I go 4 times a year for a PSA exam. I go once a year for an MRI. So please, if you haven't been, go to your doctor.
So and then lastly, how do I enroll? It's very easy. You can go online to the health program to enroll. You can call them request an application, or you can call our law firm.
We went down when President Trump signed the Zedroga bill into permanency, and now both the health program and the Victim Compensation Fund are extended for 70 years. So I just want to say a few words about the Victim Fund. So you heard that there were two different programs when the bill was actually named in honor of our client, Detective James Zedroga. As Richie said, they found benzene, chromium, lead in his lung tissue. I know you guys are first responders, but these benefits are not just for first responders. I'm sure you all have a lot of friends who are office workers, downtown residents, volunteers, students, teachers. We were all exposed to the same toxins. And it's not a surprise that every single day we are hearing from just as many civilians. They call them survivors, they call you guys responders. Every single day, 2 of our clients pass away. Every single day, another dozen people call us up. I have cancer, and all too often it's stage 3 and 4 aggressive cancers, which is why what Richie said is, do this while you're healthy. Don't leave it for your families. It's so much harder to do it when your families don't know who your co-workers were, your colleagues were. The law requires proof that you were there. I was talking to Wes about this. Wes said, why do I need an attorney? Frankly, you don't, but you do need to register. So many of my clients feel like, well, for the 10% that Congress said I have to pay an attorney, I don't want to deal with the tons of paperwork. I want to make sure the affidavits and the personal attestations are all perfect, because you don't want to leave it to your family, as I said, to fix this. So anyway, you need to prove that you were there for a certain amount of time. For most of you guys, it's easy. You were either caught in the dust cloud on 9/11 because you were working downtown, or you came back to help, either at the Pentagon, Shanksville, or Lower Manhattan. And all you have to do is show you were there for 4 hours in the first 4 days, or 24 hours in the month of September, or 80 hours altogether in the 8 months after 9/11. For the Pentagon, though, it's 4 hours between 9/11 and November 19th. I know it comes down to money. Look, the government screwed up. Do you remember when Christine Todd Whitman assured us all the air is safe to breathe? It wasn't safe. But then Congress did the right thing by creating the free health program and the Victim Fund. So while over 85% of the New York City firefighters and cops have enrolled in the program, less than 10% of the civilians and volunteers have enrolled. I don't know what the percentage is for FBI agents, but it's way less than the 85%. Most of the guys, if they know about the program, because if they've retired and moved away, they're not coming to these meetings. The best thing you can do is just spread the word. Tell people they are eligible. If you know any widows or widowers whose husband or wife passed away from cancer, there's a presumption linking all these 69 cancers, and it doesn't matter if you had a family history. The government says if you were exposed and you got cancer, we're going to give you an award. And so many of these awards are life-changing, because in many cases the pension will stop for your spouse. So now the government will give you compensation, and it's significant. So it's anywhere from 20 to 90,000 for non-life-threatening respiratory illnesses, and for the skin cancers it's 90,000. For melanoma it's 250. For every cancer it's between 200 and 340. If you're still working and now you're disabled, the government will give you compensation for the money you would have earned up until 65 or 70. And then if you die of a 9/11 illness, your spouse is entitled to $350,000. So again, take advantage of this. Don't feel guilty. You're not taking money away from anyone. These funds are permanent and they're fully funded. They'll also pay for your funeral expenses. Again, it's not just about money. It's about the health program too. And what you should do is just tell your friends, register for the health program, register for the Victim Fund, get your evidence now. See a dermatologist for the annual exams, the mammograms, the colonoscopies, of course. Do a will. And if you have any questions, call us. We're here for you. We are passionate about this. I've lost people in my office. So many people in my office, which is just 2 blocks away, are sick. I just want to make sure everyone, as Jon Stewart says, access what you're entitled to. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.